Hola a todos y bienvenidos a otro episodio del Camino Marcial. En esta ocasión vamos de camino a entrenar con el fundador Frank Dux y vamos a estar viendo al día de hoy cómo el maestro se encuentra, cómo sigue la enseñanza de su arte. Para los que no conozcan mucho del arte, yo personalmente no es que conozca mucho, sé alguito lo que se comenta por las redes sociales, pero vamos a indagar un poquito más directamente con la fuente original, el fundador, y ver a dónde este arte se encamina y dónde está parado el día de hoy. Así que acompáñenme, vámonos. Y aquí nos encontramos en una de las localidades de las Academias de Artes Marciales de Puerto Rico, y ahí tenemos la entrada de Hanchi Frank W. Dux. Y quiero darle las gracias, claro está, a esta academia y a su instructor por permitirme llegar y tener esta experiencia nuevamente con el maestro Dux. Yo había entrenado con él anteriormente, hace una década atrás, y pues tuve la oportunidad nuevamente de poder verlo. Así que gracias a Academia de Artes Marciales de Puerto Rico, si lo consiguen por Facebook. Así que veamos qué nos tiene que decir el gran maestro y qué enseñanza nos tiene al día de hoy. Que lo disfruten.
One thing you would never want to do in a school. First, safety-wise, you never want to put your back against the wall, because if someone comes sliding into you, guess what? The injury goes higher because you've got no place to go, right? It's like stomping a head. If the head's against the ground, where does it go? Right?
Sí.
Clear? That's number one. Number two, the reason you don't want to do that is you're there to train, right? So, what are we talking about here? Okay, what are we talking about? You want to build your core. It's the most important thing you can do in MMA fighting, believe it or not, is two things: footwork and core. You want to work on your core. Everything comes from the core, so you want to work it all times. So where you're sitting there right now, okay, you're going to be working out, and you're going to hurt if you do what I tell you. Okay, back straight. Totally straight. I mean, get them straight. Up, up, up. Come on, no bending. Okay? Chin down. Breathe in and tighten that core. Okay? And you're going to do that for an hour. Nobody sits here without it. Most of you, I doubt will go 15 minutes, 10 minutes. You're going to be popping down. But this is what you want to work in. When you watch TV, I want you to do that. If you're in a traffic light, you do it. If you do it all the time, you will get a rock hard inner core where somebody can hit your brass knuckles. Now, and I had some really great dedicated students that I brought over, like I said, from the Jewish school and then other guys. One guy, whose name was Keith Lost. Keith was so talented. I mean, very talented. He was really he was a friend of my brother. And by the way, just so you know, before I go further in the story, when I went to go teach my brother's friends, I wasn't a classically trained and tested, black belt in karate, so I didn't feel it was right for me to call myself, sensei, because I felt, oh shoot, I'd be misleading people. And yes, I trained in Kung Fu, and I didn't feel okay I should call them myself Shifu. Yes, I did study some other arts. I could have called myself Guru, okay? Or I could have made up as a professor. So I had to think. And I used to go to a place called, a school in Santa Monica to observe, because I was too poor to pay for lessons. Right? But that's how Dukes Readers got born. They got born because of necessity. All right? It was born out of necessity. Right? I had to invent something, my own way. And along the way, I met a gentleman named Senzo Tanaka who saw that it says what you're doing is ninjutsu. Because ninjutsu is not a martial art. It is a way of processing information and creating what budo. So, remembering that, I realized, hey, it's within my right to invent a title. And like I said, I would go down and I looked at all the best schools. All the best schools. I was very blessed. I was born at a time when it was called the Valley of Champions. We had every champion you could ever think of in the valley or just outside it. Anybody, Joe Louis, you had Joe Louis teaching, you had Ed Parker teaching, you had Master Moon, or Suwan, who was one of the inventors, John Leone, who invented Kaju Kempo, okay? Bill Riyasaki, Hawaiian Kempo, teacher to Benny Ukitas, that family, right? All the greats with it. Chuck Norris, you could go see Chuck Norris teaching. Okay? I mean, I got to see them all as a kid. I got to see them all. And so, and I respected them all. And that's why I didn't feel like to take that name. So, in Santa Monica, there was 3 symbols. They're on the wall. And if you have your patches, look at the person next to you, right? And look in the Duke's Rip patch. Right? Look at it. The flying horse. You got it? You turn, instead of looking at your own, look at the person next to you. Look at his, you look at theirs, turn, face each other so you can see it better. If you have to, right? Those 3 symbols hung above the mirrors on the wall. But they had 4 meanings. There were 4 meanings, actually. Okay? One meaning was benevolence. That you should have the ability to show compassion after doing battle. That you come from a place of humanity. The next symbol was courage and valor. It had 2 meanings. Why does it have 2 meanings? Well, courage is something you find when things are, when you want to make change in your life. It's an active decision that you make. You want to say, hey, I'm going to take all my money and I'm going to gamble it on my learning. I'm going to gamble it by going to college. Or I'm going to take all this money and I'm going to open a business with it. And I know I could lose it, right? And I worked very, very hard all my life. I saved up this money. That's a good example. That's courage, right? Okay? Right? Or I'm going to ask that girl out for a date. Right? For ladies, same thing. I'm going to go out for them. Right? Valor is a different concept. Valor is when things are that you're in a situation and you have a choice to run away from it or to do it. You understand? Valor is sometimes you're obligated to do something. You're in battle, your buddy just died, the next guy died, you're there alone, there's 100 guys in there. You could run away or you hold your position. So people come to you. Right? The Alamo, remember the Alamo? That was about valor. That's why when guys in combat, they say they want a medal of valor. Okay? Or stolen valor. Courage, valor, wisdom. We always launch, in the old days, you see the 3 symbols here, and you see the foot off that symbol, and that symbol was wisdom. We only act out of wisdom. We jump from wisdom. Is that clear? But it's later on I perfected the triangle of course and put it in the triangle. Okay? And it's still at the base side where the horse is jumping. So it's still the same. That's why it's the closest there. Wisdom. When you act out of wisdom. When you behave that way, when you have the capacity to love, you always come from a place of love, and that's the difference. So martial arts will teach you to come from a place of hate. No, you have to come from a place of love. Is that understood? Yes. Love for your community, love for your family. That's what makes you capable of great sacrifice. That's what's going to sustain you in MMA match. You think of your family. You think of the people who want to see you win. That's what keeps you going. Okay? If you come from a place of ego, you'll be easily defeated. So that's the first and most important lesson you have to learn in learning martial arts. You have to come from a place of love. You have to come from a place of loving your community, loving what you do, loving the people around you, and not letting them down. That's what's going to sustain you in fighting. Okay? In all matters in life. Fighting for your marriage. Fighting for your school. To be in school. To keep your job. So you see, when you learn this, it goes beyond. It goes beyond being superficial. When you come from a place of love. If you come from a place of anger, guess what? You're easily frustrated. Okay? And I got a story for that too. So, when you come from a place of love. Second thing is you have to have the courage to take risks. That's how you grow. You have to try new techniques. Okay? Not be stuck in the old ones. And use those techniques in the ring. Not only go back to what you're familiar with and what you're comfortable with. So the risk is important. When you're losing the fight, that's when your valor comes in. You stick with it. You meet your obligations in the face of one of us. Even let's say you know you're losing the fight. He's outscored you in points, guys. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
He's beating your ass. You're bleeding. Okay? You're obligated to give it your best. And if you quit, then who are you letting down really? Yourself. It's the struggle that makes things worthwhile in life. The struggle. And you never know. You might get that lucky punch in. You know how many fights I've watched where the guy is losing so bad and then out of nowhere comes a hit and the other guy goes down. The guy who's doing that, who's able to do that, is coming from a place of valor. Make your life valorous. Give it meaning. Give it meaning. I promise you, if you do that, you'll never be in a position to off yourself. You'll never cry over a lost loved one. You know, you had a relationship, she walks out on you, or you walked out on you. Because if you have a valorous attitude, right, you're just going to do your best at whatever it is. And who knows, it might come back because you're that way. Think about it. Okay? I've had relationships in my life, even with my wife, where, you know, she's so ticked at me, I'm ticked at her, but I ain't in there. I don't quit. I'm too stubborn. You want a divorce? Go for it. But I'm not. I made my vows to God, I'm sticking it out. I may be miserable today, but so what? And hurt to me. And you know, out of that experience, My wife and me have a bond like you can't imagine. We fight like cats and dogs. I can tell you right now. I mean, it gets nasty. All right? But it's honest. We're angry with each other because we love each other. Do you see my point? You cannot find that intimacy by giving only half of yourself. Putting on airs. That translates in the ring too. I'm trying to give you the tools right now to really understand what it really takes. Anybody can teach you the techniques of how to fight and how to get out of this, and a lot of guys give seminars that way. I want to get at the core of what works, what doesn't work, and I want you to embrace it. Because that stays with you wherever you go in life, and you will be successful in MMA, in your business life, in your personal relationships, everything. That is why I'm so dedicated to martial arts and do truth. Because that's what we do. We empower people. We take people, we change their lives. And you have an opportunity to learn those skill sets now, change your life and other people's lives. And when you change other people's lives for the better, they always feel obligated to try to do something for you. Because it's natural, humanistic, that you're a good person and not a psychopath. Is that understood? Yes, that doesn't mean everybody's going to be that way. So don't expect to get back what you give to people. That's the first, next thing. But when that doesn't happen, you can recognize, this is someone I need to cut out of my life. This is a toxic personality. And that guards you. And I said, we have to always have a wisdom. That's the last thing, right? Because the other states are emotional states of being. Benevolence comes from the feeling of like kindness and being emotional, right? But it's not necessarily the best thing to do in life. Sometimes helping a person is the worst thing you can do. You know? See, I have a situation with like addicts. Think about addicts, right? You're a parent of an addict. It's so easy for parents wanting to what? Protect their child, right? Okay. And so they keep enabling. The worst thing you can do for a drug addict is give them money, give them things. You have to let them hit bottom. You have to let people hit bottom in life, because if they don't hit bottom, they can't get the insight, the cognitive reality to change that life. Okay? Just think of it this way. There's a hot stove. I could keep taking a child and say, oh, don't touch the stove, don't touch the stove. Sometimes it's better to let them touch it. Oh! And guess what? They don't do that again, do they? Okay? If you don't do that, that's when the kid turns on the stove and says, oh, let's see if I can put on this piece of paper, and now your house is burnt down. And they might even die. You see my point? When it all could have been avoided. When you do those four things, when you live your life with benevolence, courage, valor, and you act out of wisdom, not emotion in your life, you become dead to the temptations of the world around you. The temptations that will take you off your track, off your center. Is that understood? It's the same thing when I'm fighting. If I am worried about the crowd and looking here and there, I'm not looking to punch, I get hit. Right? I have to be in the moment when I'm fighting MMA, right? I have to be in that moment. Yeah, I knock the guy down, and then what do? I run around the ring. What happens? That guy gets his ass kicked. You see my point? You got it? That's in Bloodsport. Remember Bloodsport? Jackson knocks the guy down, knocks Chumley down, right? That's put there for a reason. But that was the lesson I was trying to teach on screen. In my choreography. I choreographed those. So, you become to a place, your whole character becomes void to the temptations of the world, the distractions of the world, and you get what the samurai call motion, mind, no mind. You're now acting without having to think about acting. Okay? Imagine a cup. The cup falls off the table. You grab it, right? Do you think about, step one, hand out. Step two, hand down. Step three, clench fist. Step four, bring it back. Is there time for that? No. It's autonomic. The thing goes up, you grab it. Because your mind recognizes it. You're in a state of what we call Lucian. Mind, no mind. When you fight, you have to be in that position. Is that understood?
Yes, sir.
When you're fighting, you have to develop that mindset, that skill set. You can have a strategy, but you have to have your techniques where you don't, when they come out of nowhere. That's the only way you're going to win and dominate a fight. Japanese, Korean, and Chinese martial arts. That was my base when I would learn. So I would go to these different schools and audit them. Is that clear? I would go to the Korean schools, I would go to the Japanese schools, I went to the Chinese schools, because that's all was kind of available there. And so I decided, how do I honor them? I remember Bong Su-han's symbols, what they meant. I go, Shi, for, Do, from the Korean, means what? Way, for, ways. And the Chinese word for, in ninjutsu, as well as for the dead, being dead, or what's within, is corpse. 4 ways of the dead. 4 ways of the dead. Shi, do, shi. If you look it up in Japanese, the word does not exist. Now I see people in 1980 run around saying, oh, I'm a Shidoshi. What? Yeah, it's an ancient ninja name. It comes from 14 centuries ago. Really? Are you understanding things now? The same people who stole the word are the same people who are detractors. Just keep that in mind. Okay? And when you deal with them, I'm going to say this one thing only. A lion doesn't care what the sheep think. You understand? So there's people online that's your answer. Don't debate with them. Don't justify with them. Just say, you know what? A lion doesn't care what the sheep think. You know? And then you give them like an at the end. Okay? You know? We eat sheep for breakfast. Is that clear? Yes, and it's true. You put those guys in front of us, we eat them on the mat. We just wham in a heartbeat. You ever see how they train? You understand. You laugh. You look at the ground. I don't want to demean somebody, so I'm not going to go there. Is that clear? But if you go online and you look at how they do what they do, and you go online and see how you're just going to go, oh my God, I killed him. I would destroy this guy. He's making all these are all the errors you make. Right? Okay? You would never fight a guy like this. Why would you fight a guy like this? Why don't you ever see this in the MMA? Why? What would happen?
Break his leg.
Right?
That's the first thing.
Break his leg. First thing. How about I just tack foot out from under and kick him in the groin right if it's on the street? Right? And if there's 2 or 3 of us, is he going to get away from me? For us? No. We'd never do that. Truth is in the doing, guys, not the mouth. Okay? So what are we going to say? You ever hear that? How are you going to think when you hear that? Are you lions or are you sheep? Lions. Well, you sound like sheep right now. Are you lions or are you sheep? Lions. Still sound like sheep. Are you lions or sheep? Lions. Are you lions or sheep? Lions. There you go. I want you to have the heart of a lion. You have to have a heart of a lion to step in that ring and be an MMA fighter. You can't be a sheep. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
All right? So you think the mindset. Mindset is the most important thing you have to have.